Hello, Wild Wisdom Warriors. This is Lily Kolosova, Universal Consciousness Experiencer and Investigator. So today in this episode, I would like to focus on a topic of human consciousness evolution. This is a very important topic for me, and I choose to focus on this topic today because we're just been through a very interesting, let's just say, an energetic event, which was a total solar eclipse. So of course I'm gonna go back to it, and I'm gonna share with you my experiences with it, post solar eclipse experiences and energies, and what I'm seeing. But of course, like with everything else, I have to say it, all of my opinions and all of my perspectives are based on my own observer self, because I'm an observer of this reality. So this solar eclipse was actually a great test for me and people like me, for those of us that are on this path of reclaiming our human spirit and restoring a living human spirit, or the creator self within, or as many ancient traditions talk of this self-metamorphosis path, which is the stepping into inner self and experiencing reality through your inner core, or through the core of you as a creator being. And so that's who I am. That's why I'm here, to experience this reality through my core. So I'm just sharing with you what I am seeing and what I am experiencing. And of course, I've talked, this solar eclipse, actually, energies were very, very interesting. So yeah, I have a few things to say about that. You know, I wouldn't be Lily if I didn't have anything to say about it. So yes, there is a lot of interesting things that I'm observing, but for most part, it's been an amazing to observe this, because the veil is lifting for those that are lifting it themselves. And that's just, and that choice, as I was talking in the past a lot about 2017 being a year of the choices being clear for you and everyone around you. And so that is becoming more and more clear, what choices people make, where are they anchored in, what energies they are attached to or entangled with as a creator being. And so this solar eclipse showed a lot, and I'm sure there is a lot more that's going to come out. But one thing that I was the most excited is that those that stood in their spirit, anchored themselves in the living grid, and observed this solar eclipse, like I talk about in my previous video, from a point of view of being in the eye of the storm, from being in the center of it, in the still center of it, and just be an observer of it. And many people have done that, and the things that they've discovered and the veils that lifted for them are incredible. There's a lot of people online that talk about. I, of course, had a few surprises myself. And so there's quite a few people that share their experiences, post-eclipse experience, that was just brilliant and beautiful, and confirmed a lot of things for me, and confirmed my own stand, my own understanding. So it's great, you know, to see that there is so much growth, and the human consciousness is evolving. We are stepping into ourselves on collective level, and now we are going to be collaborating together as an individual revealers of this deception system. Because right now, what this solar eclipse did, in my opinion, what it did is that what I was talking about 2017, the choices are visible, and they're just cannot be hidden. It's just like solar eclipse. It just, the darkest of the darkest will become visible. When I talk about choices being visible, what I talk about is the soul level choices. Um, Many times in the past, in my videos, in my interviews, I talked about self-empowering and self-work and self-initiation into this process of gnosis or inner gnosis, or reclaiming your living spirit within you and operating from that point as a creator being, as a universal seed in expression here in this reality. And this is, I think, one of the most visible choices that cannot be hidden, is this very fact of what each soul on an individual level decided. What path are they going to take? Are they going to take the path of reprogramming by the archonic grid? That was the intent of Solar Eclipse, to reprogram into another loop all these people. It's just they're just being reprogrammed through that to be propelled into the slavery loop, or serving the master, which is the archonic system, or the through techno spirituality and all of that hype that was going on in all of the new age communities about downloading all this upgrades, updates, and all kinds of stuff. This was people's choice. And in my introduction to this series, I've talked about those choices and how people might claim that they make those choices without knowing something. And that in itself, when people claim that they made choice or did something because it's somebody else's fault, or somebody else had given them wrong information or something, but there's a lot of that victim field expression. So how those choices might be visible, you might ask. How are they visible? How are this manifesting? How do I know? So you might say, Lily, how do you know what choice an individual made? So their choices, the soul choices, will manifest in their external life. They open their mouth and they talk about something, and there comes the truth. Because once the veil is lifted and you're standing in your consciousness as an observer, in your raw source consciousness as a creator being, you observe from that perspective, so you can see. And like I said before, it's almost like you hear a frequency. You hear the frequency or the source of that expression. So even people, when they talk, they instantly reveal themselves. You know, they might talk about all this, you know, beautiful upgrades that they got from Solar Eclipse, you know, and then they'll say, well, we have problems, this and that, but then it's just ascension symptoms, right? Just like in the past, every time the techno spirituality did any updates to the programming on mind control people and the hive grid, people were saying, well, it's ascension symptoms, and people were having physical issues and all of that stuff, because that's invasive parasitic consciousness is readjusting your physical body and your body consciousness to be part of it, to siphon your energy. So that's why you feel like shit afterwards. And so ascension was presented as such a great thing. But the thing is, and this is why I laugh sometimes, because when you really know who you are, and when you really know, and they say, well, it's kind of ego, Lily. You say, you know I am a creator being and I stand in my core, and you just don't want to accept anybody's opinions. I am not talking about just opinions. I'm talking about experiencing this. I'm not talking about having another belief system overlay over old belief system like it's been done for ages. You know, one belief system overlay with another, overlaid with another, and then all of a sudden Jesus came and wanted to save you, and all of that. It's savior on top of savior on top of savior, but they never reveal to you who the bad guy is. It never is. You just gotta be saved. But like I was saying, if people are not revealing the root of this deception, they're covering for it. They think they're slick, but they're not that slick for those that are standing in their universal living intelligence field, which is source, which is universal mind. And so, yes, that's multidimensional thinking. Once you align your mind in here and your physical body consciousness with the universal self of you, which is the higher self. Some people call this a higher self. It's the universal self. In alignment with you, anchored in this body, like I said in the past, you are a creator being in human form. And that's what it is. You are not just your body consciousness, but you align your body consciousness with universal being. And that's multidimensional thinking. And that's when you understand the multidimensional level of you and you know the self. You know your universal self. And then you recognize yourself as a universal seed of expression, because you are now capable expressing a universal mind or creating with a universal mind in this reality. And this is what human consciousness evolution is. And so the first step to step into this evolution of humanity, because this is it, it's we either reclaim and restore our higher self or our universal self within right here, because that's our spirit. We're universal beings. We are the children of great spirit, as many ancient traditions, including Native Americans, talk about this, the great spirit. And what it is, it's not the imposter God. And this is why, I've seen some people were talking about Native Americans not watching Eclipse, and it makes sense. They know what they're doing. They know who's who, and so you can only know who is by knowing the self, know who you are. Yeah, this has been an interesting week. Or so, this last week, ever since Eclipse, because the energies are so out. Everything is on the surface, and I see so much, but I still don't have all the words to express in more, in more of this energetic progression of human consciousness evolution. But I think a lot of us are now recognizing that power within as the raw universal consciousness, and we feel it. And I see people when they talk about, especially about the experiences that they had with the lifting of the veil and how much it empowers humanity. That is just, for me, it's amazing, because I've been aware, I've been self-aware all my life, and I've talked about this in the past. I was born this way, and I understood that in very early age, and I've been practicing and investigating. I've been practicing at this, see how this is seen it, and I have a lot of experience watching and observing this invasive parasitic consciousness control people. But I also knew from a very young age that I had more power than it, because I was able to hide in front of it. I knew that, it didn't have access to me truly. It didn't. It could read my mind, it could do all these things, it could affect my body consciousness. But me, the true me, it could never touch. It could never touch because it had no ability, it had no access to it. And this is one of the reasons that I'm able to talk about this the way I can, because I've seen its workings. I've seen its patterns. I can recognize them very easily right now. And so right now with this reprogramming attempt, it's just puny at this point. But those people that are able to see through the veil and recognizing their own power, you can see it in their face. The bright look on their face, because, and this is one of the things that I love to see in the community, in alternative community, because like it or not, I'm here, I'm part of it somehow. And this is why I'm here. Even from the very beginning, 2 years ago, I've talked about, coming out into this community. But what most people don't understand, that my intent, what was my intent to come out? I didn't come into the community to be part of it or just go stand in the line of being programmed by this or that speaker. I didn't care about that. I've seen all of that. I've seen it all in church. I've seen it in Soviet Union programming. I've seen it all. I was here with a different mission. I came here and spoke to people that are like me, that know what this is, and they're on the path of this self-transformation. And this was all about us experiencing this reality and come to this realization, the whole lifting of the veil for me, that I knew was going to happen for a collective level of humanity when I was 13. I've talked about this in the past. That's how long ago I had known that the human evolution, the consciousness evolution will move forward, because it was there. It was there in the timeless space. It existed. We were there. It was never not gonna happen. I knew that for sure. And so from that point, this is when I came out and I wanted to talk to people in alternative communities. But from the very beginning, I've set my intent with my initial letter to alternative community viewers, and I said that everything what I'll be talking about will be my own experience. I wasn't there in alternative community to stand in line to be upgraded by archonic reprogramming system. I wasn't there to get that. And so I wasn't gonna give my energy to any of those activities. And so I'm standing here as a warrior today, because I am nothing but a warrior. I'm the warrior of the living spirit that is human consciousness. This is a raw spirit, and we are it. We are it. We either express it and experience our reality through it, through being the raw consciousness, source consciousness in this reality, or we are just slaves to an archonic system. And that choice is visible. It cannot be hidden. So today, there is so much going on, and the progression of this evolution, it is a spiritual evolution. It is our spirit, human spirit evolution. And how we move forward, we collaborate on this raw consciousness expressed into collective as one humanity. And we each have that responsibility, because we are part of this creation. So I know a lot of people talk about energies is as within, so without. as you are within, pure source consciousness, that should be expressed into external. And you can't stand in the victim field when you are the center of your being, when you are at the core of creation. And then you don't have to have fear because you're experiencing your reality. You can't have fear about it. So people that are basing their belief systems on fear are serving their master archon, because that's the only way it can feed, through fear. And if we human beings standing in the core of us as source, expressing raw human universal being, then our reality will reflect back at us that what we are. And so there is no more of blaming anybody, like I said in the past. If you are caught up or locked up so tightly and trapped in the matrix system, all those traps have been set up by you for you. You are the one responsible for being entrapped. You're the one responsible for being lied to. You're the one responsible for the lies you told to others. You're responsible for all of it. There is nobody else to blame, because once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. So if you know the self, you can't fall for traps and misrepresentations and somebody's lack of trust. It's all you. It's all you. There is nobody to blame. And this is one of the most difficult things for people to accept about themselves, that all of the deceptions that they've built, that field that are around them, or they feel they're around them, they're built by you. And I know recently some people projecting, and people will also project their own reality onto others, because as their reality is becoming so visible, because all of this, when I talk about being visible, your choices being visible, whatever you are dealing with in your own aura is going to be right in your face, because it only exists in your reality, because you created it. And you can't blame anybody for it when you know who you are. So if you claim to be a self-aware human being, then act like one. You know, I have a lot of people that want to argue about whose program is better, or whose predictions are better about the future, or whose computer bot is better telling them or treating them better than other people. I don't care about those things. They're yours. Or how many entities you have, you wanted to give it away to other people. Nobody will release you from your own prison that you build through ignorance. So don't stand there in ignorance and try to point fingers at other people that brought you their truth. Even people that been manipulated to manipulate other people, if you hear it through the core of your being, your intuition will give you the sign. Stick with it. Go be with yourself. Be the self. Be part of this creation. Look around you. Look at the creation around you. How many people right now in alternative communities are trying to project all this dead shit, excuse my French, like sacred geometry, this or that, or aliens, or all of that. You know who you are. Go outside, look at the grass, go sit under it,
a tree. Look at the flower, the real flower, the living flower of life. Go experience that energy. Go smell the flowers or do something. Don't stare at the dead end secret geometry and think that it's living somehow. It's the same as drawing with black and white, with a black pencil on a white piece of paper. You're gonna draw a rose and you're gonna stare at it because you're gonna try to prove it to the whole world that it's a rose. And somebody else and your neighbor might be experiencing the living rose. So the arguments have to go. I just really think that at the point of when we stand empowered as warriors in this reality, and when you know what you know, and when you know what you know, then you will trigger your own moral code. It's there. If you're a human being, if you have a soul of a human, because I'm not even talking about those those what are they, like bio something, I don't know, whatever they are, but they just can't comprehend that because they've got no moral code whatsoever. But you as a human being, you have that. Trigger that. Turn on to that. Explore your own morals. Check with yourself. The universal living field of creation you can't hide from. And that's what your moral codes are. You can't hide from yourself. And you can't go and pray and ask for forgiveness when you violate your own moral code, when you violate your own divinity, when you violate your own freedom, when you violate your own free will, when you violate your soul for a buck or two. It's not Cabal's fault. It's your fault. You have to take responsibility for your choices, for your decision in every moment. And if you think that taking self-responsibility can be avoided, then you're running a program and you think you're lying to others, but you're lying to yourself. Nobody can lie to you if you have access to your inner self, to Gnosis, the spirit, the living spirit. That is all of it. There is no place untouchable or inaccessible by the Great Spirit. So you can't hide. You can run, but you cannot hide. And there is no place that those that are standing in that living grid, there is no place that is inaccessible to them either. This is how we have access to the information, be it matrix system or anything else. We see that through our own observer self. This is the path for humanity to grow our own living spirit, express it in collaboration with each other, not in competition. Competition is there to produce an energy, a loose energy for archonic grid. This is how it sustains itself. It's like an electricity to a lamp over here. That's that competition. And that's what it is. So we are not in competition with each other. We are in collaboration as individual expression of this living grid, universal grid. So I think I've talked a lot today. This turned out a bit of a rant, maybe, but this solar eclipse had shown me so much, and I see so much of this on the surface that I just wanted to share with you. This is not a negative, this is actually very positive, because there's so much positive coming out of this, and there's so much more clarity that's coming even more to our alternative communities. And there's people that are willing to speak about this for as long as we need to, so other fellow human beings can step into collaboration and create the reality that is pro-human, pro-life for all living beings on this plane of existence. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching my video again. I appreciate every minute you give me. Thank you. I hope to see you next time again. Until then, stay wild, everybody.